Time now for everybody's favorite guessing game, What's My Line? Throughout the world, only one company produces all types of business machines and systems, Remington Rand, who now invite you to play What's My Line?
And now let's meet our award-winning What's My Line panel. First, the popular columnist whose voice of Broadway appears in papers from coast to coast, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
And now I'd like to introduce a gentleman who skipped his Christmas dinner because he's never wanted to be associated with a turkey, Mr. Fred Allen.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next panelist is a young lady who is leaving for Japan tomorrow. And we are very fortunate tonight in being able to present her for her farewell American appearance of 1955. And here she is, Miss Arlene Francis.
Thank you, one long pan. And now a gentleman whose column in this week's magazine is read by millions of people every Sunday and laughed at by just as many, Mr. Bennett Cerf.
Thank you, Arlene. I expected you to do that in Japanese tonight.
Oh, you should.
Now, on my left is a gentleman who does a superb newscast 5 weekdays a week, and on Sunday switches over to being a very tough panel moderator, Mr. John Charles Daly.
And I would say for all of us, and say it with very great sincerity to you at home and those who are here in the theater with us, Merry Christmas. And now, my little Christmas present to the panel. Please put your blindfolds on. Oh, that's too bad, yes, indeed. I'm awful sorry about it, but we need to have your panels on. Your blindfolds on. I think we're up to some tricks.
Oh, Arlene, how pretty.
Wow. Look at that blindfold on Miss Arlene. That's a sweetheart, isn't it? I will warn you ahead of time that our first contestant is really contestants. And once again, all of the people concerned have the same general occupation, so that if you seek the occupation of one, you will find, if you're lucky, the occupations of all. We'll also have a famous guest challenger in a little while, but right now I think it's time for you experts to see what you can do about our first contestants. So will they come in and sign in, please? Now, panel, just in case you're a little bit puzzled, what we're doing is signing in, and there is more than one, so you see this takes a little bit of time. But now, will you please come over here and join me? And I would ask you, first of all, if you're familiar with our scoring system, are you? Yes, we are. Right, if you're ready and familiar with the scoring system, we'll go through the formality of letting the folks at home and those here in the theater know exactly what your line is. Actually, panel, I don't think there's much to be gained by taking any particular note of where our guests are from. I would say that New York could be the present residence for all, and we would be fairly accurate. Beyond that, I will tell you that our guests are salaried, and let's begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Are we blindfolded because somebody here on the panel would recognize one or more of the contestants?
No.
That's 1 down and 9 to go.
You mean we're just blindfolded just for the...
Just for
They don't
fun.
like our faces to be mean?
Mr. Sivner, actually, you used the term recognize somebody. We will admit that there is probably an area that might have some identification factor to it. But it has nothing to do specifically with the recognition of features or the recalling of any past acquaintanceship.
There you go.
And that makes it still 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Well, now, I thought it was a masculine voice that said he understood the game and a feminine voice that said no just then. Am I correct in assuming that there are members of both sexes mixed up in this group?
Yes.
Is this some number that, is this some troupe that does appear somewhere in the entertainment world?
Yes.
I think we can say that there is an area of entertainment which would have to be accepted, and to the degree that there is performance, and certainly performance with a specific purpose of entertaining or attracting the public's
Yes,
attention.
thank you, John. Thank you.
Well, you're right. Why, sure.
Is there any connection between this group and the magnificent television industry?
No.
2 down and
No.
8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Are any of you or all of you performers?
Yes.
Well, are all of you performers?
Yes.
Do you perform on stages ever?
Yes.
Before live audiences?
Yes.
Do these people pay to see you?
Do these people pay to see you?
Sometimes.
You mean they're sneaking in occasionally?
Annie Oakley.
Well, do you do what you do for profit ever?
No.
That makes it 3 down and 7 to go,
No.
Mr. Allen.
Well, if you don't do it for profit, how do you live? Cannibalism isn't rampant in the... Is it a... It's a theatrical group, and still... How many people are there in a group, John?
That's a very good question. Why don't you see if you know the answer?
Well, do these people actually perform themselves?
Yes.
You do. And you don't take money for it?
Well, with the...
Indirectly.
the-
Under the table, you mean the short people?
Now, the question was specifically asked, Fred, as to whether they performed for profit, whether people paid to see them. Now, they do not perform for profit in the functional term, nor are they always performing before people who have paid to see them perform.
Well, is this a choir of some sort? Is it a singing group?
A choir. That makes it 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis. The answer is no.
Well, do all of you work for a non-profit-making organization?
Yes.
Is it a charitable organization?
Yes.
Is it one of the better-known ones, such as the Red Cross or the Salvation Army or that type of organization?
Yes.
Is it the Salvation Army?
Yes. Well, now, actually...
Do I have to find out who puts the nickel in the drum?
No. No, you don't have to find that out, but there is something. I think that Miss Dorothy has her
I'm finished. I
mask
just
off
thought- I
now,
thought-
but
I
what we
had
wanted
mine
you to
half
come up
off.
with was the fact that we have a Salvation Army band with us, complete. Now you may take... Lieutenant and Mrs. David Baxendale and Lieutenant and Mrs. Vernon Post. Yes, Dorothy.
Please flip the cards, John. It's my treat.
I'll do better than that. Dorothy took off her... Tell you what, we'll flip all the cards. And I would just like it very much. I don't know whether you all feel you could do it, but would you
selection?
play for us once? Would you?
Yes, from Guys and
Christmas
Dolls.
Guys and dolls.
We'd like to play for you a well-known Christmas carol, Hark the Herald Angels Sing.
That'd be wonderful if you do that. Right over here. Fine. Hark the Herald Angels Sing. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to all of you, and thanks a lot for our carols. Now, there are 4 of you So let's see, that's 50 times 4 is $200 for the Salvation Army. And thanks a lot for being our guest. I don't think you need to be told what wonderful work the Salvation Army does, and I'm not going to stop now and give you a long plea that you do something about it. I would just suggest that if you haven't made some small contribution to the Salvation Army in this Christmas season, it's not too late. You can do it next week, you know? All right, panel, I must congratulate you. Very good beginning. Let's see what you can do with the second challenger. Will you come and sign in, please, man? Oh, ho, yes, indeed. Will you sign in right there? Thank you. I love my work. Still bets. De Aldry, is that right? How are you? And is it Miss or Mrs.? Miss. Yeah, well, nice to have you. Where are you from?
I'm from San Juan, Puerto Rico.
San Juan, Puerto Rico. Well, Merry Christmas. Nice to have you with us. And would you be good enough to let the panel get a closer look at you? And
That's a
stay
very
little
good
bit
idea.
far away
How
from
do you do?
Hello, Miss Delbert.
How do you do?
Rather
you
a
come over here
funereal
now and
touch,
join me,
John.
Mr. Aldry. Aldry, right here. Would you know how we score this operation?
I have an idea.
You do have an idea? Because I'd love to explain it to you. It'd only take me about an hour and a half. You must sit here. All right, if you know how we score it, let's tell the people at home, our friends in the theater, exactly what your line is. All righty. Panel, I will tell you that Miss Daldry is salaried, and let's begin the general questioning with Fred Allen.
Do you deal in services, Miss? Yeah.
Yes.
Do you really? No. I was just asking a general question, John. But the general didn't show up, so I asked Sylvester. Are your services are confined to are they available for men and for women?
That's right.
They are. Do you work in New York?
No.
That's
You don't.
1 down and 9 to go, Miss French.
I should have gotten out of town first.
Well, I should think that if you do not belong to some branch of the entertainment world, that we've lost something. Do you belong to any branch of the entertainment business?
Yes.
But you do not perform here in America?
That's right.
Do you perform in your own country?
Yes.
Do you perform on television?
Yes.
Do you perform, are you by any chance on a panel in television?
Yes.
What's my line?
Yes. Are you on What's My Line?
You know, I don't know. Maybe you should send you to Japan last week, not this week. The heavenly days. Well, we'll throw these
Where
all
is
over
it?
anyway in the good Christmas spirit. But
What
Do
is
you
Where's
do
it
it
done?
the same as we do it?
Exactly, yes.
What's the show called in Puerto Rico?
It's called Juego Dodge.
What was that again?
El Juego Dodge. Dodge game.
Dodge?
Game.
Uh-huh, game.
yes,
Oh, where do you sit on the panel, Miss
Where Miss
Sylvester?
Frances is sitting.
On a chair or something?
And are they...
Can Mr. Albert sit here on this chair with me for the next round and we'll do it together, or would that be out of order?
Sure.
oh, I think it'd be a
We're
nice...
done.
Would you like to try it? Why don't you do that? It's
Yeah,
a
my
wonderful
chair.
idea. Let's throw the
Come on.
ball
Great
away
idea.
anyway.
Great idea.
I would
Wouldn't
say
you
this
like to
before
see
you
what
go.
Puerto Rico does?
Yeah, wonderful. You do that. Will you go over there and join me? Mr. Right across from the table.
Sit right here with me. Come on.
There we are. That's a wonderful idea. Now, I would just like to add, panel, because I think it'll please you, that Mr. Aldry tells us that What's My Line's the top TV show in Puerto Rico. So,
Really?
Just as it is in America.
just as oh, isn't that nice? Well, in just a moment, we'll meet tonight's mystery guest. But first, here is Dick Stark with a word from Remington Rand.
Good evening. From time to time, I have talked to you about the many business machines and systems which bear this famous name, Remington Rand. You've seen how well they save that most precious commodity, time, how they simplify office routines to save money, and how much more pleasant they make office life. Remington Rand makes just about every product needed to operate a modern business office, and to illustrate that, we are going to conduct a little experiment. Take a good example of an efficient, well-equipped office. This one, for instance. Now, let's see what this office would look like if every product made by Remington Rand were removed. We'll start with those typewriters, the famous Remington Electrics that have simplified the lives of so many secretaries. Sorry, ma'am. Now, here's a visible record-keeping system. It puts a mass of information at your fingertips in seconds. Its name, Cardex, made by Remington Rand. This little time saver adds, subtracts, multiplies, and divides automatically. The fully automatic calculator that prints by Remington Rand. Here's a portable microfilm camera that records documents in seconds. The Filma-Record Model 8. That's right, Remington Rand again. And this incredible machine is a UNIVAC 120, an electronic brain that has revolutionized record keeping. It's the punched card member of the UNIVAC family, and UNIVAC means Remington Rand. These compact files are Remington Rand. This fire-resistant safe cabinet, this accounting machine, and even these stencils, binders, typewriter ribbons, and papers, all by Remington Rand. Looks pretty empty now, doesn't it? Nothing but those tables, desks, and chairs. But even they, yes, even they were made by Remington Rand. Well, I guess that takes care of everything. You know, if you were to total up all the products made by Remington Rand, you'd come to over 20,000, and that's a pretty impressive figure. So no matter how large or small your business needs may be, think of Remington Rand first. Because throughout the world, only one company produces all types of business machines and systems. Remington Rand.
And now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity. You've dug up another mask, have you, for
yes,
Mr. Elder?
we have all.
And have you explained to Mr. Elder how we play the game?
Yes,
Yes.
Because we use a different form of questioning in this, one question at a time, moving clockwise. And you all set, panel?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Good. Will you come in, Mystery Challenger, and sign in, please? All right. Panel, you all set? Our mystery guest is all set. I'm a little upset. And we'll begin the holy festivity with Bennett, sir.
Well, we're a little crowded here tonight, but very pleasantly, too. Is our mystery guest a representative of the entertainment industry?
Why, yes, offhand, I'd say I was a representative. The boys down at the office, one of them said to me the other day, George, you're a very amusing card.
Okay.
All right, Miss Kilgallen.
I didn't hear the end of the sentence.
He said that a chap in his office had allowed that he was a very amusing fellow.
Oh.
Of course, I've had a piercing headache ever since the office party.
Are you normally a comedian? I mean, when you're not on this program. Are you also funny?
Well, it's questionable. Let it put it that way. Yes, I'd say offhand. Well, the boys down at the office said I'm pretty amusing.
John, can your guest guess who our guest is?
I don't know, Ted. Fred, we'll see how it works out.
Are you known for your hilarious activities in television? Assuming they are hilarious.
Miss Francis?
Is that one of the boys from the office?
Matter of fact, I took her home from the office party.
Then there are two of you over there, huh?
Yes.
Or
that's
more.
right. Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right, now, Sylvette,
Right.
Bouzette on.
I presume it's a man and a woman, right?
Si,
Right.
senorita.
Do you sing too besides being funny?
Yes.
Mr. Cerf?
I would like to know if the male half of this combination ever tries to get the female half to go to a motel.
Now, wait, let's...
That could be anybody.
I think this is legal. I mean, I meant to say.
Mr. Cerf, I certainly hope you think it is.
May I say I resent the question?
Would you mind answering it?
What have you got in mind, Bennett?
I have in mind a line I've laughed at very hard about the male half of this team complaining in the middle of the female half's song that he's thinking of a
We're on
motel.
television, Bennett.
We won't be for long.
Now, who do you have in mind, their personality?
Well, I would think it might be Peter Lynn Hayes and Mary Healy.
That's right. Well, you did it.
You certainly did, Bennett.
Thanks very much, Mary Pete. It's wonderful to see you. Thank you. And let's show the folks. This is his splitting headache.
Clever. I'll show it to them. They didn't get to see it.
Well, now, congratulations, ma'am. You did very well with that. We now go back to the old rules of play, Mr. Elray. You know, you stay where you are. Stay where you are. But we do it, the ordinary way.
Unless you'd rather sit next to Fred than Bennett.
You want to sit on Fred's lap? You don't want to do that. All right, let's
Doesn't
see
seem
what...
possible.
Let's see. You're doing very well tonight, panel, but I think we're going to give you some trouble just about now. So will our next contestant please come in and sign in and see what we can do by way of mixing up our panel. Sign in, won't you please, sir? John, knee, elbow, no. John, knee, Marks. Right, sir?
And where are you from? I'm from New York City.
From New York City. Fine. Well, some of these folks here, I guess, will be familiar to you, and we'd like to get them a chance to get a little bit more familiar with your appearance. So would you take a small hike in front of them, please?
Hello, Mr. Marks.
Marsh, how are you?
Thank you, Mr.
John.
All right, Mr. Marks. Yes, dear.
Miss Sylvette, in a very honorable way, says that she can't play it with us because she knows what Mr. Marks
Yes,
does.
I met him. And
Oh, that's
I know
right,
what he
too.
is.
That's all right. Well, thank you very much,
tell
Miss
us.
Sylvette, for remembering that, because I just about threw you. Just stick around anyway and have some fun, if you will. You know how we score this operation?
Yes, John?
All right, fine. If you do, let's let the folks at home and our friends here know exactly what your line is. All right. Now, panel, Mr. Marks is self-employed. Let's begin the general questioning with Dorothy Kilgallen. We have about 3.5 minutes.
Mr. Marks, does your work bring you in contact with the public?
Indirectly.
Well, I guess I'd better ask a more clear question.
Well, no, actually, if that leaves you confused, Dorothy,
It does.
don't worry, because I'm confused, too.
All right. I mean, even you know what
No.
he does, and you don't
Well,
understand.
actually, you see, what do you mean specific contact with large numbers of the public?
I'd better ask another question.
Oh.
I think it's better to save a lot of time.
Do you deal in services?
Yes.
Do your services apply to both men and women?
Yes.
Could I use your services?
No.
Small conference.
Let's put it very unlikely.
No, actually, you could, Dorothy, but Mr. Marks feels it's unlikely that you would require.
Would he make an exception for Dorothy?
Yeah, we'll make an exception.
I'd be very happy to.
Do people in trouble ever use your services?
No.
No, not
Not till after they
In a
use
therapeutic.
the
Not in
Mr.
a
Marx, he's
therapeutic.
not, you're not related to Groucho and Gummo and Thingo and the other Marx.
No.
Is there a product involved in what you do?
No.
There is no product.
Not by our terms of reference,
Must
no.
be
That's
very
2 down
lonesome
and
going
8 to
around.
go, Miss Francis.
Do you work indoors, Mr. Marx?
Yes.
Do you work in an office?
Indirectly, occasionally.
An indirect office. That's the worst kind.
With indirect lighting, too, to go
You say that you work with people indirectly. Therefore, you mean the people do not come to you, do they?
No.
No. Do you do your work mostly through correspondence of some kind?
No.
That makes it 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Still bet you didn't tell me the right thing.
Mr. Marx, you have a voice that sounds as though you had had some kind of dramatic training. Have you ever had training of elocution and that sort of thing?
Yes.
Do you use this voice in that way?
No.
That makes it...
What a waste.
4 down and 6 to go, a little more than a minute. Miss Kilgallen.
Mr. Marx, do you ever talk to people on the telephone?
Yes.
Do you consider that direct or indirect
Well, that
contact?
could be a direct form of contact. We'd accept it.
Are they better or happier after you've talked to them?
No.
No change. 5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Allen.
Is your job a white-collar job?
No.
Why, I thought so. You have a blue collar on.
No, actually, I think if Mr. Marx doesn't mind, we would say in the general categorization of employment, his would be considered white collar.
Conference?
You may have 10 seconds for a conference.
I know I'm probably leading everybody astray, but do you think it could be, he said he's indirectly in an office, could it be a thing like a studio? I think Bennett's on the right track with that voice department.
He said he didn't
Doesn't use his voice to make a living.
He doesn't use his
Well,
voice,
maybe
and
he only
people are no
considers that
better
a
off
part of-
as a result.
Well, if he were a
All
disc
right.
jockey, they wouldn't be any better off.
Conference time is up.
He uses his voice to confuse us. I mean,
Actually, what we've done is run out of time. I think you might have gotten this if we'd had another minute or two, because you're beginning to get into the general area. See, Mr. Marx is a songwriter. He wrote a little song called Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Thank you very much, sir. Rudolph the Red Fella. Nice to have you with us, sir.
Thanks a lot. Now, before our panel says good night, may I remind you to tune in again next Sunday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when once again we invite you to play What's My Line? For other localities, check your local listings for the date and time of our weekly series. And now, a word from next week's sponsor.
Now that the last present has been opened and the last burst of merriment has settled into one big ear-to-ear grin, Dr. Jules Montagnier has asked that we give you his personal wish for continued good cheer. The great success of Stop-Et Lotion Spray and new Mr. Stop-Et for Men is something you have given us. For that and so much more, what can we say except a quiet thank you?
And we would like to say thank you for being with us tonight. And just in case some of you came after we started the program, I want to say again, for the panel and for myself, Merry Christmas to all of you. And until next week, this is John Daly saying good night, Miss Dorothy.
Merry Christmas, John. Good night, Fred. Merry
Good night,
Christmas.
Dorothy. Good night, Arlene. I hope you have a nice trip to Japan. And if you catch a young sukiyaki there, I hope you bring it back.
And chopsticks for you.
And me.
I
Oh,
certainly will. And I want to say that I'm going to be replaced for a couple of weeks by Vivian Blaine, probably the prettiest doll of them all. And it's been very nice to have you split this chair with me tonight. Thank you, and good night. Goodbye, Bennett.
Thank you, Arlene. Next time, split the chair with me, will you? Good night, John.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being with us on What's My Line?
Travel arrangements on What's My Line are made through American Airlines. American Airlines flies our contestants in luxurious comfort aboard DC-7 flagship.